Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Data Science Daily Series. And today, what we are going to talk about is a short quiz on the data types and data structures in Python. So, over the past few sessions, we actually went over what are the basic data types like integers, floats, booleans, and strings. And then we also covered data structures, which are also called data types like lists, tuples, dictionaries, sets, and frozen sets. Today, we will have a short quiz of 11 questions. I would encourage you to pause after each question has been introduced, try to get to the answer yourself, and then watch through the explanation. So, without further ado, let's get started and get prepared for the live quiz. All right. So, let's jump right in. The first exercise is on Booleans. Create a single expression using Boolean operators that evaluates to true if a number is even and greater than 10. Now, this is the question. How do you solve this? If a number is even, how would you actually find out if that's true or not? We can use the modulo operator because remember the modulo operator returns the remainder of an operation, right? So if you're doing a division by 2 and you find out that the remainder is 0, that proves that the number is even. So that's the way to do it. The second thing that you need to find out if a number is greater than 10. Now that you can simply use using the comparison operator, which is greater than. And you want to find out whether both of these conditions are satisfied or not, because only then will your expression be true. So you need to use the AND operator, which is the AND Boolean operator. And this is exactly what we are going to do. Num is equal to 10. I have assigned a variable num as 10 for this example. And then what I'm doing is num modulo 2 is double equal to 0. So I'm just checking. Remember, double equal to is basically checking. It's a comparison operator, whether the left hand side is equal to the right hand side or not. And then I also want an AND operator, and num is greater than 10. So num is even and num is greater than 10. And here it's false if it is 10 because it's not greater than 10. If I make it 11, the second condition holds. It's greater than 10, but it's not even. So this will again be false. And if I make it 12, it will hold because both of these conditions are satisfied. The second question. On strings, split the string into a list containing I'm eating an ice cream lately from the original string, which is I'm eating a lot of ice cream lately. Now, how do you actually go about solving this? If you simply call a split method, right, a dot split, this will not work. Why? Because a dot split will actually split by the spaces. So how do you solve this? The way to solve this is to look carefully at the output you're expecting, which is the first element should be I'm eating and the second element should be ice cream lately. And let's examine the string. So I'm eating is coming here and ice cream lately is coming here. So what we need to split it by is this middle part of the string, which is starting with a space bar and then a lot of, and then ending with a space bar. And if we split by this, it will basically split the first part of the string into the first element of the list and the last part of the string to the second element of the list. And that's exactly what happens. So this is my string. And when I call my string.split with this, right, it creates a list with two elements like we wanted. All right. So this is about splitting a string the way we want it. The next exercise is on tuples. Check if a specific element exists within a nested tuple. My tuple is equal to 1 comma, and then the second element is itself a tuple, 2 comma 3 is a tuple, comma 4, right? So this is the nested tuple. The inner tuple is a nested tuple because it's within an outer tuple. How do you check if a specific element exists within that or not? So first thing is you need to index it. My tuple 1, right? If you index it at the first index, you will get the inner nested tuple, which is 2 comma 3. And then let's say you want to find out whether 2 is there in that nested tuple or not, you can simply call the in operator to get the answer. So this is my tuple, right? 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, where there are three elements in this outer tuple, where the second element is actually a tuple in itself. And if I want to check whether 4 is there in this nested tuple or not, I can say 4 in my tuple 1 and it will return false because 4 is not there. So let's run this. However, if I say 2 in my tuple 1, it will return true because 2 is an element. All right. Let's come to lists. Find the elements present in list 1 but not in list 2, as well as those present in list 2 but not in list 1. And you're given two lists. How do you solve this? You can solve this using sets. So in sets, remember, we have a method called a symmetric difference, which finds out elements which are there in the first set but not in the second, and elements which are there in the second set but not in the first. And here, because we are concerned about just elements, that is, we are just saying unique elements which are present in one list but not the other, we can convert these lists into sets and then use the symmetric difference operation. So let's see actually three methods. How would you do this? Right? So these are the two lists I'm defining, list 1 and list 2. The first one is a very raw method. You can simply do it, you're expanding the way symmetric difference works beneath the hood. So set of list 1 minus set of list 2, which is saying elements which are there in list 1 but not in list 2, dot union set of list 2 minus set of list 1, elements which are there in list 2 but not in list 1. And you're taking a union of these two, right? So you will get the answer as 1356. Now, the second method is same, almost 99% same to method 1. The only difference is instead of the minus operator, you are doing a dot difference method operation, and you will get the same result. And lastly, you can simply use a dot symmetric difference method of sets to get the same output, right? So set of list 1, I need to convert the list 1 to a set, dot symmetric difference, and then set of list 2, and I get the same output. All right, let's look at a dictionary question. So exercise 5 is add education as graduate in this dictionary. Person is equal to name is Alice and age is 30. Now, why are we able to actually do that? Because dictionaries are mutable. They can be modified after they have been created. So we will see two ways how to solve this, right? And feel free to pause the video if you want to think about it and solve it yourself first. So person I'm initializing to this dictionary, right? And this is my dictionary. How do I add one more key value pair? So I can simply say person square brackets education, which is the new key, is equal to the new value, which is graduate. And when I print person, I will see that this dictionary has been updated, and it includes this new key value pair as well, right? So this is the first way that we had discussed how to do this. The second way is you can create a new dictionary, which is education colon graduate, which is a new dictionary with just one key value pair. And you can then call an dot update method. So person is name is Alice and age is 30, and I'm doing person dot update education graduate. Remember, this dot update methods changes the underlying object in place and does not return anything. It returns a none type object. So that's why nothing is getting returned, but it is changing the person object in place. So when I print person onto the console now, you will see that education is graduate, right? It has been added. Why? Because we had reinitialized after method 1's output the person object to name and age keys only, right? And now you see that name, age, and education keys, there are three keys now, right? So education has been added. Okay. The next question is on string. Create a new string Blice by replacing the first character of Alice with B. Now, how would you do this? You can simply call the dot replace method. So my string is Alice, my string dot replace A with B, and this will return you the new string, right? So notice there is a subtle difference between, dictionaries dot update method and the strings dot replace method. The update method changes the underlying dictionary in place, right? And it doesn't return anything, or it returns a none type object. Whereas the dot replace method in a string actually returns the new modified string, and it doesn't change the underlying string in place, because remember, strings are immutable. They cannot be modified, right, once created. So my string is Alice, then my string 2, I'm assigning this to my string dot replace A with B, and I will see my string 2 is Blice now, and my original string is not changed. It is still Alice. Another question on string. Given total marks is 500, marks obtained is 390. Fill in the blanks in this string and print it like Ankush obtained dash marks out of a total of dash, thus scoring dash percent. Right? So you need to fill in the blanks in this string using the information given. How would you do this? You can use the F string, right? So the first way to do it is actually to use the dot format method, right? So what you're doing is, there are two methods here. The first method is you simply initialize my string as the same string, Ankush obtained dash marks out of a total of dash, the scoring dash percent. And the dashes you're replacing with curly brackets, empty curly brackets, and then you're just calling a dot format at the end of the string. So dot format 500, which will basically flow into the first curly bracket. So Ankush obtained 500 marks, right? So this is not actually right. This should be 390 and this should be 500. So Ankush obtained 390 marks out of a total of 500, thus scoring 390 divided by 500 into 100. And this is your output, right? So you can simply call the dot format method on strings. Or alternative method is, what you can do is you can, just let me correct this. You can use the f string. Now in the f string, you need to define two variables, total marks and marks obtained, right? Before you can use the f string. And within the f string, you just reference these two variables and it will automatically take the value of these two variables. So that's what I'm doing. I am first assigning two variables, total marks and marks obtained, and then initializing a my string with, which is an f string, Ankush obtained, and curly braces, marks obtained, right? Marks out of a total of, and then again curly braces, the total marks variable here that I've defined. And similarly, the first variable was marks obtained, marks obd, which is another variable that I defined, thus scoring. And then the percentage is something I need to calculate from the variables. So 100 into marks obtained divided by total marks, and I will get the same output. So this is another way to solve the same question. Now let's look at indexing a list. Given this nested list, give the character percentage percentage. How would you solve this? Now you're given this list, right? And this is a nested list. How do you figure out where this particular character is and how do you extract it? Now you need to think about, right? This is the outer list. So where is the nested list occurring? It is occurring at the fourth element or the third index. So this is the third index where it is occurring. So you first need to index it by 3. Now, once you've indexed it by 3, you get this first nested list. Now, within this nested list, where is the nested list occurring? So it is occurring at 0, 1, and 2, second position. So first you index by 3, then you index by 2. And then you come to this innermost list. Here you can see the percentage is at 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? So it's at the third index. So if you index it by 3 to 3, you will get the output. And that's what you're getting. The outer list, you're first finding out where the first inner list is, nested list is. That is at the third index or the fourth element. Because the first element is the 0th index in Python. Now you get this nested list. Now within that nested list, you're trying to find out where the nested list is again. Right? That it is at the second index or the third element. And then within that final innermost list, you're trying to find out where the percentage sign is, which is at the fourth element or the third index. All right. Now, how do you index a dictionary? That is exercise 9. Given this nested dictionary, get the character percentage again. Now, you need to think about this carefully, right? This is a tricky question. Now, if you see the outer kind of the main dictionary, right, there is one key value pair, right? So there is A as the key, and then entire thing is actually a value, right? So the highlighted part is just a value. So the first thing you need to do is you need to index by A, right? So just mention a square bracket, index by A, you will get this value of the key, right, which is pertaining to the key. Now within that value is a list. So you need to index it by 0, 1, 2, 3. So you need to index the list by 3 to get this inner dictionary. Now this list is actually having a dictionary within it, right? So you need to get that, right? Just keep a note of the steps that I have mentioned. So first index by A, then index by the third index, right? And then you will get this dictionary. Now within that dictionary, again, it's just having one key value pair. So again, you index by B, you will get this particular value because this is a dictionary. So you can index by the key and get the value, right? And then within that value, you again need to index by the second index, right? So this is my inner list, and I want to index by the second element, or a third element, which is the second index. So I'll get this final most inner dictionary. And within that dictionary, again, I index by C, I will get this value, right? And within that value, which is a list, I will get the third index, which is my percentage. So A, then comma, right? The A index, then 3, then B, then 2, and then C, and then 3. And that's what your answer is. A3, B2, C3. All right. Now let's look at tuples. Create a new tuple with the value 5 appended to the original tuple of 1, 2, 3, 4. And how would you do this? Now, something might strike your mind and you will say that tuples are immutable. So I should not be able to actually do this. How is this going to work? How do you create a new tuple? So remember, you can always create a new tuple with basis the original tuple. You cannot change a tuple in place, right? You cannot change or modify the tuple which has already been created. So what I will do is, right, how will I add this value? So my original tuple is 1, 2, 3, 4. What I can do is, I can first create a list of the original tuple and then add a value 5, right? And once I've done this, I'm adding a list to a list and then back converting it to a tuple. So I'm again converting it to a tuple and I will get this output. Or what you could simply do is, you could do orig tuple plus 5, and this will also give you the output. Right? So this is a very much more simpler way to do it. Now notice what you cannot do is this. You need the comma in the tuple, and this will not work because Python does not understand that this is a tuple. You need to at least provide one comma for it to understand that this is a tuple. So this doesn't work. This doesn't work because Python doesn't recognize this as a tuple. All right. And in the last question, how do you reverse a list? And I'm giving you a list to reverse. Now, there are two ways to do this. Either you can use something called the reverse method, which we didn't actually discuss. Again, it's a method which changes the underlying object in place and returns actually an untyped object. So I'm initializing a my underscore ls here as this list and then calling dot reverse. So you will see that the list has actually been reversed, right? Or what you could do also is you could use the slicing method. And the slicing method, what it does is, you have this initial list. I'm reinitializing this, right? Because my ls has been changed in the previous step. So I'm again rewriting on top of that and creating a new variable my underscore ls again, right? Which overrides the previous output. And what I'm doing is I'm calling it my ls and then doing a slicing. Now, how is the slicing working? I'm giving it double colon marks and then -1 at the end. So double colon marks are saying that I'm not specifying any start or stop, but the -1 at the end is saying that this is my reverse operation, right? So go in the backward direction, right? So this negative indexing is basically saying go in the backward direction, and I will get my reverse output. Now note, this will not change my underscore ls at all. So if you want my underscore ls to change, which if you're trying to do this, you should do this. And then you will see my underscore ls has been changed because this is overwriting. This operation is overwriting the earlier value of my underscore ls. All right. So this is it. I will paste this particular quiz results in the chat. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You are hitting the bell icon for getting notifications whenever it is going live, and you're going through the comments of the video. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to put them in the chat. I hope you are very, very clear with data types and data structures, because these are so fundamental to Python, and specifically Python for data science, that this is something you should be very, very comfortable with. I've seen advanced, software engineers, people who are aspiring to be in machine learning roles, not getting this right. And this is actually a deal breaker if you're trying to get into strong machine learning roles. So make sure you're getting the fundamentals right, and you're rewatching some of the earlier sessions if something is unclear. Always feel free to reach out to me and I will be ready to answer your questions. Until then, stay tuned. See you tomorrow.